Hi everyone, it's Allyson from QuiltNCode. Have you got hankies hanging around that you would like to upcycle and find new ways to love? Well, this series is just for you. I'm doing these on Mondays, usually at 11, but we had technical difficulties yesterday, so welcome to Tuesday, one off for our hanky challenge. When I was looking at so the story is these hankies all came from Joyce Watts. And she came to me with the challenge of I have a whole bunch of hankies, make something that will make them useful again. And so we're upcycling hankies. And so when I was going through all these hankies for the last year, I have tons of them. Um, One stood out. And every time I looked at it, I started singing that Sesame Street song, one of these things is not like the other. And so that's the hanky I've decided to start with. I only have one of them. It doesn't match any of the others. And so it stumped me. I'm like, what am I going to do with this guy? And so I am going to show you today what we're going to do. So, don't lose your coffee. All right, here we go. So I have an inspiration of making a bag. And so in my notebook, this is the one I wanted to use. And so I am inspired by this lazy girl pattern. It came out ages ago, and since then, the creator passed away. But I sort of held on to the idea of the pattern. And so I have changed things around a little bit, put a little pocket on the inside. Anyway, so this is my inspiration for this bag. And this is the hanky that's been giving me all the trouble. And so I went through the scrap box. I went through the notions box and started pulling out all sorts of stuff that might go with this hanky so that we could sort of get an idea of something we could do with this. Now, I haven't done anything with it yet, so everything that I do during this series is an experiment. I only have one hanky to work with. And at this point in time, it's like, okay, this is either going to work or it's not. And am I going to be able to use any of these extras? And I don't know. I'm hoping yes. On the other hand, this guy kind of stands out on his own. What was neat, though, was when I went looking for fabric. This is the fabric that I found to go with this guy. And I was, this is perfect. Okay, so it's awesome. It doesn't have butterflies on it. And let me make sure it's in the camera so that you can see it really well. But it doesn't have butterflies on it, but the coloring really, really complements it. And I knew I wanted something black that wasn't in any other hanky. One of the reasons why I was having so many troubles. It's like every one of the other ones is a pastel-y, rainbowy kind of color. This is so totally not. Wouldn't match in anything with any other hanky. And so this is where I want to start. Now, I'm going to teach you two things today. I want to teach you different types of interfacing that we can use with our hankies to make sure that they stay nice and secure when we're sewing them, because this fabric is a linen and it's I have no idea how old these hankies are. I want this to last a while. And so I'm going to reinforce it with some interfacing. And then the second thing I want to do is I want to get started on my zipper. So I'm hoping to get my zipper in today. That will give me a lot of ideas about how this is all going to come together. It may not get finished today. In fact, I know it won't, but we're definitely going to touch on the interfacings and the zipper today. So let's get started. All right, so this is the hanky we're going to start with. And like I said, it's got a nice linen fabric. So what is going to be the best thing to stabilize this with? Well, we have numerous options when it comes to stabilizer. So one of the things we will be using, because I really like a bag that just has some substance to it. It's not just fabric. I use at least one piece, if not two, of a fusible fleece. Okay, and this is a nice thick. The nice thing about all of these being nice and fusible is that they get fused onto your fabric and you don't have to worry about them anymore. There's no putting extra stitches in or anything like that. And so I have fusible, but that is not something I want to stick directly onto my hanky. I kind of want to stabilize it even further first, okay? So I could use a lightweight or a heavyweight fusible interfacing. And so when I say fusible, I mean like literally, I fuse it on with an iron, good to go, okay? And so the bumpy side right here, you might be able to see that in the photo. I can kind of see it over here with the lighting, is the glue side. That's the side you want going to your fabric. But for my hankies, I'm not quite sure I want that either. And so I am going with a French fuse tricot interfacing. And so French fuse sort of has this gorgeous, like flowy veil type of a feel to it, and wonderful for t-shirt quilts. But this lightweight interfacing is perfect for t-shirts as well if you're doing a t-shirt quilt. And so yeah, this is what I think I'm going to use. That way I've got a nice flowy thing that's going to help hold all those linen fibers together and help me sew, okay? Now, on my hanky, I had a butterfly, okay? And this was actually open, sort of like, okay, so this one is a hanky that had that. This is how the butterfly was. He was on the edge, okay? Well, notice how in this lacy part, this crocheted part, this is crocheted. So notice how in this crocheted part, I've got a lot of holes. I don't want those in my bag, and I certainly don't want those to come through with my interfacing. And so here's the solution I came up with. We'll find out if it works. I simply folded over my butterfly and I stitched him down. Okay, that way the linen is behind my butterfly. Now, notice how all these napkins are not like, they're not ironing out exactly flat. The tricot is going to help with that once I get that on there, but they're not necessarily laying out perfectly flat. And so what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to cut this straight in just a second. I'll show you. And then I'm kind of wanting to keep all this lace so that I might be able to use it later. In fact, I know I want to use it later when I'm putting my my other part together, okay? So, because I'm gonna try and make this into a pocket. And so I wanna make sure that I have that all together. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and iron on my tricot. And all I'm gonna do with this tricot, oh, you can see how all I did was stitch around him. And I need to trim off some of these threads, although I'm getting ready to do a whole bunch of stuff, so it's not gonna matter. And here's where I tacked down there. I did notice while I was stitching this that sometimes my, sometimes the because this is such a thin fabric, it would kind of get stuck down there in my feed dogs. And so I would just take it really slow, pull that fabric back out, and it was good. You cannot see it on the front side, but you can definitely see how sometimes I got caught a little bit down there in the feed dogs. The tricot is going to help with that from here on out. I just wanted to get that. I don't want to put that tricot where my butterfly is. I want that pink coming through. I don't want that other stuff coming through. All right, so I am going to start by stabilizing this. And I'm placing this tricot on top here, and I am going to cut around where I want it because my napkin is sort of doing, it's not that bad, but it's sort of doing this all the way around the edges. And so, I mean, like, it's pretty good, but I don't want to, the other thing I don't want to do is I don't want to iron the tricot to my ironing board. So I am going to make sure I have gotten rid of as much as I can before I go to iron. Okay, cool. And coming around like that. Cool. And then I want to do this before I flatten that out to make my pocket. And before I do anything else with my lace. So I want to make sure I have definitely gotten this stabilized. Okay, the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double check that the rough side of my tricot is toward the wrong side of my napkin, because I want to make sure that I don't glue my napkin to my iron. Been there, done that. Okay, whenever you're doing a interfacing job, you want to make sure that you are covering and securing or protecting your ironing surface. So I am using just a piece of muslin that I had left over, and I'm going to go ahead and cover my foam mat. The last thing I want to do is ruin my foam mat with interfacing glue. And as you can see, I do have some of my interfacing still going over that. I can trim that later, but I want to make sure I get those edges really good. There we go. Come on now. I know I cut you better than that. I think my napkin's growing. Of course it is. All right.
The interfacing is growing.
The interfacing is growing. No, the interface is shrinking. Okay. So the other thing I want to do is, this is nice and long enough that I can now take this over and I can just sandwich everything in between. And that way everything stays, my iron stays nice and free from glue. Now, tricot does take a bit of temp. So I have this, unfortunately, I had it on my lowest setting. So I am going to up that a little bit, especially since I'm protecting my napkin. Earlier, I was ironing directly on the linen, and so I had it on a lower temp. I am going to up that a little bit because it's got to go through the cover cloth, then down to the tricot glue. So this will take just a little bit. Yeah, it's taking a little bit. So while we're sitting here waiting for this iron to heat up and get there, I'm going to just have a sip of my coffee. It's, it's still early. I'm at 11:14, so I'm good. I can still drink coffee. If you guys have hankies, I want to hear about it. I want to hear what you guys are thinking about doing with your hankies. This is just the first project of like 4 that I have planned. And so, they're going to take a little bit. I'm going to do one at a time. I'm not going to, this might take us through May, one project at a time. I don't imagine the bag will take more than a couple weeks. Don't usually. But since I'm doing a whole bunch of different stuff with it. All right, let's see if it's working. It's getting there. It's getting there. The corners always take the longest. Yeah, it's coming. Woo! Okay, cool. So that shows you how to get that stabilized on. And now I'm going to trim up that top corner so that I can put on my other piece of fabric. And then I'm going to show you how to do the zipper. Okay, cool. So, and if you're watching and you have questions, Lainey's sitting there behind there. I would love any comments that you make. Okay, let's see if it got it all the way. Yes, we're good. Okay, so I am going to turn it over this way and give it a little iron this way as well. I love how there's like little stains on the napkin. It adds so much character. I might cut those out, but it adds so much character right now. So I might be starting with my favorite project of them all. So that's not a good idea. I'm a bag lady. So Thursday on my live on Thursday, I'm going to be finishing up a bag as well. And I'm sitting there going, man, I have issues. Like, it's so funny though. We saw a picture of me when I was younger, and my daughter. So my daughter was carrying like 3 bags around, And then we found a picture of me who was standing next to my grandmother when I was like Rebecca's age, carrying 3 bags. And it was like, okay, I guess it's a run in the family type of thing. And Rebecca is the same as me. Like we're constantly making bags. I have a bag for everything. I have a bag for, and if I don't have a bag, I'm like, I have to make one because it has to, everything has to have its own bag. Okay, so now look at how much flatter and neater that sort of lays, and it gives it a bit more stability. And so it really does feel like, okay, now if I cut through this, things aren't going to start fraying and falling apart on me, that type of thing. You can see how right here, you can probably see it better if I take this away. You can see how the tricot is coming over like that. That's fine. I'm getting ready to straighten that edge and just try to straighten this baby up to try and get it to where I want it. I kind of want these lace pieces to come over here for my pocket. I kind of want to do that. And so we're going to figure out how I can make that happen. May not be today, but I am going to show you how I want to clean up this edge right here. So I'm going to bring out the big ruler. And the other thing I want to do is I kind of want to find the center of my butterfly. So I'm going to just fold over these wings and try and match them because I know when I was putting it, I mean, the thing was shifting all over the place. And so really kind of want to have it nice and centered. Oh, that's awesome. That is exactly what I wanted. Okay. And I'm getting ready to cut right here, so I'm okay using a pencil. You could also use a friction pen or a chalk, if whatever you need. And then this is funny. I have like some thread stuck in here. I'm going to have to pull that out because that's going to drive me crazy. There we go. Which means I'm going to have to re-iron. Of course I will, but I'm going to re-iron a ton of times anyway. Anyone who's used tricot knows that you have to iron a ton of times. So when I cut this, where's my little one? There we go. Yeah, this is just not big enough. When I cut this, I have the center there, and now I can also use that center mark and the center of the butterfly. So see how far I have to come down in order to straighten off that edge, and that's fine. I want to make sure I have a straight edge. The other thing I'm noticing right off the bat, which is awesome, is that I have a good ½ an inch between here and my butterfly. All my sewing is going to take place with a ½ inch. So I'm good. See, if at first you succeed, try not to act surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I knew that was going to happen. So I'm going to take my rotary cutter and attempt not to cut my fingers off this time. And now I have a nice straight edge. Okay, guess what? I need to make sure I still have that center point. And so I see the fold. And so I know where my center point is. And then I'm going to take I want to have my long piece here because this is either going to be my lining or it's going to be the top, or it doesn't matter. I just know I don't want my zipper going to this butterfly. And so I am going to find the center of my long piece of fabric. You notice I haven't cut that down. I'll be glad to link my pattern for you guys in the live so that you can see how to make this lovely bag right here. And I am going to put that right sides together right here. Whoop. Just like that. I was looking over, making sure I didn't take my pins home. There we go. And now I am going to stitch a ½ inch, and that's going to give me a finished top edge. And then we're going to talk about starting to trim off and save some of this beautiful lacy stuff on the outside so that we can make that into a pocket when we're ready. Okay. Bring my sewing machine over here. Just like that. All right. I use my needle and I put my needle over to my position for a 1/4 inch, and that's how I get my 1/4 inch seam. But I am using a 1/4 inch seam on this. All right. Oh my gosh, I just love it. Okay. If at first you succeed, try not to act surprised. Okay, I'm gonna iron this in place and then we're gonna start working on our zipper. I think this is gonna make the cutest bag. Awesome. All right, we are gonna start with the zipper, just like this. And this is one of the easiest ways to like put in a zipper. I'm gonna start with my little piece, which is around here somewhere, probably on the floor. Boy, am I good. So this is my little piece. This is I think I will honestly put the directions in the thing, but I'm starting with the little piece. And what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna fold it in half with the right sides together, and I'm folding it in half long ways. Just like that, okay? I want to have my zipper pull over to my right and right side up. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna simply stick that zipper right into the center right there and snug it right up against the thing. The nice thing about using this nice long zipper and this method is that at this moment in time, I don't need to worry about whether the zipper is opened or closed. I don't need to worry about cutting, doing anything. I can just have the zipper in here and ready to go, okay? And so now that I have that in there, I like to pin as it's going into the machine. And I want it as close to that fold as possible. So I am going to pin just like this so that as I'm putting it into the machine, I can pull those pins out as I go. And I am not as close to the fold as I need to be right there. So I'm going to get that as close to the fold as I possibly can. And then I'll take those pins out as I stitch. All right, let's talk about the zipper foot and how you want to do your zipper, okay? I'm going to bring my machine over here so that you can see. I'm going to make sure, Lanny's going to help me make sure that you guys are good on seeing right down here. I'm going to take this foot off right here and make sure I have my zipper foot. I do, it's right down here. I was all ready to go yesterday with everything lined up. Now I'm like, what am I doing stuff? Okay, so this is a zipper foot. My zipper foot can go on either side of the foot or on either side of the needle, okay? I am gonna be stitching on this side of the needle. And if you can see right here, there's a little crook, and that's where your zipper is gonna go. That's what you want to have. So I am gonna put it on my left-hand side right here. And I'm not quite sure if you can see, Lanny, how's it going? About as good as it's gonna get. I'm trying not to move the camera. And so on the other side, I could do it on the other side. Depending on how you're putting something into the machine, then you could definitely do it on the other side, not a problem. Okay. But what you're looking for is that's the wonderful thing about zipper feet is that you've got this groove that your zipper is gonna fit right into. Okay, I'm also gonna go back to my normal needle position. Remember I changed it when I did my 1/4 inch seam. So I am going back to my normal positioning. And then I am bringing it in here and I am placing that zipper right at the groove. Now, I want to bring my needle over just a little bit. It's a little too close to that zipper for my comfort. I like it a little bit further out. So I'm using that groove to help me guide this through so that I have a nice straight line. So I'm going to move my needle over just a little bit. And then before I do anything, I am going to just double check that I am not going to hit the zipper, not going to hit anything, that type of thing. As long as you're going nice and slow, you're not going to mess your needle up when you're going over that zipper. But I'm not going over that zipper until the end of the bag. All right, so here we go. I'm going forward a little bit, and then I'm going to go backward just to secure that. Excellent. And I'm going to stitch all the way through. And then as I get to my pins, I am simply going to pull those pins out as I go. There we go. And so that is, you don't need to worry about whether or not you have to keep that zipper open, going over the pole, going near the pole. With this method, it's very nice. And so now that I'm done, I simply pull this out just like that. And then I like to give this just a little bit of an iron, not on the zipper because I am using a plastic zipper, but just to give this a little bit of a pulling it away. And you can notice, see, I don't like the fabric too close to the zipper because I'm scared it'll get caught in the zipper. I'm a little paranoid about that. And that's just my own little paranoia. You can go as close to that zipper as you want to. It's just my little paranoia. So now to finish this off, I'm simply going to give this a little iron just so that it will stay in place. Just like that. And then I'm gonna pin it again, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a top stitch right away. That will keep all my fabric pretty much out of my way. I don't have to worry about it anymore. So I'm gonna do that because I want it to go in the same way so I can pull those pins out as I go. When I was first starting to do this method, I would always put my pins in that way. It's impossible to pull your pins out when they're going the wrong direction. So pay attention to how you're putting those pins in. Make sure my thread's okay. All right, and now I'm going to do a top stitch. So I'm putting that back into the machine just like that. And guess what? I am going to use that needle. Oops, sorry. I'm going to use my needle thing to move my needle back over a little bit. I want to double check though that I'm not going on the foot. So I'm coming down and I'm awfully close. So I'm gonna move that over. Okay, here we go. Yeah, last thing I want to do is run the needle into the zipper foot. That would be just terrible. And my top stitch is not getting as close as I needed to get. So I'm gonna have to go back and redo that. All right, but I can do that later. Okay. All right, so once I get that top stitch, then I can go back and I can do the same thing with the other piece. So first thing I'm gonna do is take this piece right here, and I wanna have like a little bit of a lip up there before my zipper. And so I'm just gonna fold this in half just like that and give this a nice, make sure Lanny can see it, and give this a nice iron, and I'm gonna repeat the process on the other side. So I can take my zipper and slip it right in here, just like that. And what I'm looking for here is that the edges of my fabric are coming right down with the zipper right there, okay? And so I don't want, the last thing I want is for this to be over here like that, because then this is not gonna, it's not gonna be in line and my zipper will be totally off. And so I want to make sure that this little piece right here is up nice and tucked close and in line with the sides. That way, everything will look awesome when we are done and it'll all be lined up and I won't have to worry about anything. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, making sure that my pins are going in the right direction. Perfect. Make sure my threads are okay because I keep moving my sewing machine. Excellent. Okay. And moved my needle over so that I'm not so close to the zipper, checking just to double check. I'm happy, I think. Yep, I'm happy. Okay, cool. Taking my pin out. I don't know if I backstitched the last one when I got finished. Oh, okay, so I noticed that it picked up a little bit of my fabric as I went. I'm not sure if you can see that. Let me make sure I can move that over, but it's fine. I just picked up my presser foot and moved it back into position. Little Charlotte is running like a dream today. Wasn't meant to be. Okay, I'm gonna backstitch just a little bit. I'm just doing that to tack it in place so I don't have to worry about anything coming out while I'm sewing. Okay, and then I do the same thing. Love it. Got to bring in the little mini iron and everything. Okay, so now I can bring this over like this. I know there's a lot of fabric. Don't worry. We're gonna get rid of that next week. Okay, and where are you? Oh, just like that. Okay, there we are. Okay, look at that. Guys, it's gorgeous. It's gonna look so good. All right, I just don't want to lose all this fabric because I'm not quite sure how I'm doing this yet. So, but now that I have my zipper in place, I can see how I want this to go. Okay, cool. So I am going to simply iron this a little bit, double checking that I have everything in place. Notice how it's lining up perfectly, and I can just leave the zipper on. I didn't have to worry about a zipper pull. I didn't have to worry about anything. Now I have this perfectly. Now I will have to learn, when I go to put everything together, I will have to worry about that zipper pull, but it'll be in the center, so I'm not really worried about it. So now I'm going to top stitch this bottom thing just so that it's in place. I don't have to worry about it anymore, and I can figure out what my next steps are going to be. I just wanted to make sure I knew that this was going to work, and I am like thrilled. I did not pin, so I'm going to do that really quick. And looks like I want to go in on this side this time, so I am going to switch the foot because there's less fabric. That's what's so glorious about this two-step process of the foot. Because there's a lot less fabric on this side, I can go in on this side and have the needle going on that side. All right, so I'm gonna stitch this right here. I'm gonna pin in place before we get started. It's kind of funny. I'm not quite sure. I might be able to give these napkins back once I'm done with this project. So Joyce, if you're watching, you better let me know which ones you really want. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna use this side of which means I need to move my needle over that way. And ready. Just double checking I'm not gonna hit I'm ready to go. And double checking that all the fabric's out of the way over here. Excellent, here we go. I see my thread over there spinning away. All right. That one worked a little bit better. So here is our zipper. So today's live, we talked about how we're going to treat these and prepare these. And I will do the Trico to all of these hankies as I'm doing the projects. But this is the beginning of our bag. And this is going to be a pocket right here. And so we've gotten it ready so that we have a zippered pocket. And now I've got to figure out how I want to take this lace off. And so that will be next week's lesson. But we talked today about putting in a zipper and getting our napkins, our hankies nice and treated. And next week, we will continue the series on Monday, and we will work on finishing off the front of the bag. And what I really want to do is I want to get this lace up here so that it frames my butterfly. And so I'm going to figure out how I want to do that and continue using this gorgeous fabric that's matching right up with this hanky. Oh my gosh, this is going to be gorgeous. So it's turning out wonderfully so far. If you have any questions or comments, please put them into the comment section. We try to get to all of them. And please share and like and subscribe and all that good, wonderful stuff. And we will see you next Monday for our continuing hanky challenge. Thanks, everyone. Bye.